Good early evening, Mark here from XL, and I have in front of me two bottles of, as you can tell from the height of them, i.e. the tops are not in the picture, bottles of Alsace Riesling. And I am quite an Alsace Riesling fan, and I'm particularly excited because the one nearer me has just scored 98 points and is one of very few exceptionals this year, 2021, in any of the decanter tasting panels. And I can't remember another one this year. I may be wrong about it. It is Domaine Weinbach's Schlossberg Grand Cru Riesling from 2019. It is one of the Grand Crus. It's a Grand Cru tasting overall. And it is pretty fascinating, and I think I understand why decanter have given it 98 points. Pretty fascinating category of wine, I think, the Rieslings of Alsace. It does come with the slight downside of having a £50 a bottle price tag, and we'll talk about maybe how we get around that, and that relates to the other bottle. But it is, on the nose, hugely aromatic, mainly citric fruit, quite limey, definitely, obviously. There was a mandarin in there, but I would say it's right on the margins of going into stone fruit. A little bit of apricot, a little bit of peach in there as well, but very aromatic. You can really pick up some of the tension in this wine even before you sip it. But what you get on tasting is the intensity of it. That is a very intense wine. Has a great deal of acidity to it, obviously, a great deal of flavour intensity. It's very dry, and yet not utterly bone dry, such that it is sort of mouth puckering. There's just a little bit of sweetness in there. I think there's 4 or 5 grams of residual sugar, just offsets that acidity. And it is the case that everything in there, I would say, is in perfect balance. It's very much what the decanter review says, but on tasting it, it is exactly right. The fruit, the tension, the plushness, the acidity, the sugar, they're all absolutely right alongside each other, very tight. And I think what's unusual about it is a 2019 Grand Cru Riesling. And I would have thought, you know what, I'm not going to be drinking this till 2025. I mean, that's almost the sort of the hallmark of Riesling, certainly the German Rieslings, but a lot of the Alsace ones. But 2019 was quite a warm year. There is a plushness to it. Not super plush. This is not a hot year. This is not warm. This is not you've got to drink it right now. There's definitely 15 years of drinking in time in this. And personally, because I quite like that whole petrol kerosene thing that goes on with Riesling, I would leave this a few years for that to develop. But that's because I like the petrol kerosene, machine oil, diesel thing. I think, however, there is enough complexity, enough plushness, density, richness, interest. I'm not sure what other words I can use. There is more than enough going on in that wine that you could drink that now and thoroughly enjoy it. And I say that not to try and get people to drink it up and come back and buy any more, because chances are we'll have run out by then. But just because it's taught me, I think, that actually, and I've heard this said many times, there is more than enough in really good vintage Riesling for it to be drunk, young, middle-aged or old. And I think this is absolutely super. Now, the other bottle. You may not want to spend 50 quid on an Alsace Riesling, and I know I can't really afford to. Now, as it turns out, Weinbach have another very good Riesling, which is half the cost. This one, hiding behind here, £24.95 a bottle, and it is their Cuvée Theo, which is not taken from Grand Cru vineyards, but still taken from very good and named Le D vineyards. And I've drunk this a bit before in the past, and it's been rated in decanter in the past, and I remember being really impressed by it. And it wasn't until the Grand Cru Riesling was reviewed now that I thought, oh yes, suddenly I remembered it. And it too is fantastic. It is richer, riper, more stone fruits. I mean, that is not particularly citric. You're not picking up a lot of lime or mandarin on that. That is very much stone fruit richness. The acidity a little bit lighter, but you know, this is still Riesling. There is plenty of acidity there. It's rounder, richer in the mouth, a little more full-bodied, It's a warm Riesling. It's an absolute statement, I would say, of what Alsace Riesling to me, that richness and warmth that comes from the climate there, the sunshine, the dryness of the region. It's absolutely what it's about. 2018, it's a vintage a year earlier, has given it two things. It's a warmer vintage, which has imbued to it definitely that extra plushness and ripeness, but also there is an extra year on it, and I'm just getting, compared with the Grand Cru, I'm definitely getting a bit more kerosene, a bit more petrol in there, and I think another couple of years and that could be really quite petrol-y. I think it's lovely as it is. I absolutely would drink this now. I'm going to thoroughly enjoy the rest of the bottle, but at £25, still by no means a cheap Riesling, a great glass of wine. Thoroughly enjoy these. If you do plug for the Grand Cru Riesling, I think you're going to love it. And the Theo as well, another tremendous wine.